Hello everybody, welcome to our single area OSPF configuration lab. This is gonna be a really fantastic session. We are gonna learn lots of new things. We are gonna learn how to configure OSPF, and we are gonna provide dynamic routing communication between the end devices too. So let's go. We have 3 steps that we should do. The first step is all interface configs are made before. Configure single area OSPF area 0 between all routers to provide full connectivity between all PCs in network. Pretty cool. As you can see that in the figure, we have 4 routers connected to each other, but the question is saying that all interface configs are made before. That's a good news, guys. That means, hey dude, you're a professional anymore. You don't need to configure an interface. You know it already. Okay, I know that you can't do it anymore. That's pretty simple for you guys. Alright, the second, run show IP protocols and show IP route commands and check the output. Good. And 3, run show IP OSPF and show IP OSPF neighbors commands and check the output. Show IP OSPF database. Okay, let's go. As you can see, let's talk about the topology some first. Router 1 is connected to 2 and 3 and to the LAN of 10, 41, 11, 0 segment. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna configure routers for OSPF routing. To do it, I'm gonna check the interfaces network IDs that routers are connected to. Then I'm gonna advertise that networks to my neighbors, and I'm gonna provide full connectivity between 4 routers and between 4 PCs also. That's gonna be a really cool session, guys. And let's start with the first step. Okay, all interface configs are made before. Configure single area OSPF between all routers to provide full connectivity. I'm starting with router 1. Here is my packet tracer. Let's go with the router 1 first. Enable. But I'm gonna show you that where router 1 is connected first. Router 1 is connected to 3 different networks. As you can see that it's 11.0 network, it's 12.0 network, and it's 13.0 network. But while making OSPF configuration, you don't really need to memorize this. We have a command which is showing us which interfaces are related to which networks, and we are gonna advertise that networks. Okay, watch me first. I'm in the CLI and I'm running show IP interface brief command. As you can see that our Giga00 interface has an IP address of 11.1 and the others are 12 and 13.1. Because of I'm using a /24 subnet mask with this, my network IDs are 11.0, 12.0 and 13.0. Alright, let's go. Conft and router OSPF. I need to define a process ID first. This process ID must match on 4 routers for exchanging OSPF routes. Router OSPF, I can change any arbitrary thing. I'm gonna use 1. Router OSPF 1. The first thing I should do when I'm configuring OSPF is defining the router ID. Okay? Router ID, it's not an IP address as I told you before, but I'm gonna define a unique router ID for each my routers, and this is gonna be 1111 for my router 1. Alright, I defined the router ID 2. The second step is advertising the networks that we are directly connected to our routers. I'm doing it using network command. The first network I'm directly connected is 11.0 and my wildcard is 000.255. Because this network contains the IP addresses beginning from 11.1 to 254. So that means that the first 3 bits are constant. My IP addresses will start with this, and the last bit is arbitrary. And I'm going to define the area. It says use area 0 in the question, and I'm using area 0. Alright, pretty cool. I'm going to use the same thing for 12 and 13 too. Pretty cool. Let's go to the router 2. I'm in router 2. Show IP interface brief. Router 2 is directly connected to 12, 22 and 24 networks, as you can see. Router OSPF 1 again. Please keep in mind that process ID must match on 4 routers. I'm gonna give the router ID first, and that should be this one. No, router ID should be unique for each router. That is the ID. So I'm using 2222 for the router 2. And the last thing I need to configure is my network statements. Network 0 and area 0. Okay, because I'm using a /24, my network ID is 22.0, and because I'm using a /24 again, my wildcard is the 000 and 255. Please keep in mind that if you are confusing, oh my god, which wildcard mask I need to use, you can revert this to, you can revert your subnet mask. You should use 0 instead of 255, and you should use 255 instead of 0. Because of our subnet mask is 255, 255, 255 and 0, I'm using 000.255 for my wildcard mask. Okay, I'm gonna also advertise this networks too. Alright, pretty cool. but I'm expecting something to see, but I couldn't see it. Yeah, that's what I really need to see. As you can see that as soon as I type my network statements, router 2 has a OSPF neighbor right now, and it's router 1. Let's see what happened now. I configured OSPF for this guy and for this guy. I didn't configure OSPF yet for router 3 and 4, but as soon as I configure the network statement for the link between router 1 and router 2, they became an OSPF adjacent anymore. Alright, now let's take a look to the third router. Enable conft router OSPF 1 router ID 3333, and I need to take a look to the show IP interface brief. Please keep in mind that you can use show commands even if you are in configurator mode or config mode or config if mode by using the do command at the beginning. Do show IP interface brief. I can say this, or I can go to the privileged exec mode and I can use the show IP interface brief, and the end result always will be the same. Okay, this router has these networks and I'm gonna configure them with network. Oh, what I'm doing, network 0000255 and area 0. And 34. I'm expecting to see another membership between router 1 and router 3 right now, and yes, as you can see that router 3 has a neighbor which is router 1 anymore. And now let's go to the router 4. I'm in router 4 now. Enable and conf router OSPF 1, no network. Router ID 4444 and network statements. Networks will be 44, 44, 24 and 34. I'm expecting 2 neighborship right now. 4 is adjacent with 2, and but it was already adjacent with the 3, or yes. Okay. 4 is adjacent with 2 and 3 right now. So that, and I think that we accomplished the first step. Step 1. Okay, man, I completed you. But to verify our configuration, we need to use ping from PC1 to PC4. Let's do it. I'm in PC1. I'm going to command prompt and typing ping 44.5, which is the IP address of PC4. Let's see that what's going on. Alright, I got the reply, and that means my OSPF configuration is working properly right now, and I can go to the second step. In the second step, we need to run show IP protocols and show IP route commands. Let's go to the router 1. and run show IP protocols command. Alright, that's what I expect to see. I'm running OSPF with a process ID of 1. I'm just using one area. I'm running 4 networks. These guys. And I have these guys in my network. That's pretty cool. That's why show IP protocols say to us. And let's take a look to the show IP route command. Show IP route. Alright, as you can see that, and as you can remember from our previous sessions, connected and local links are automatically appearing already in my show IP route output. But what I need to see in here also, I'm learning 5 different networks using the O, which means OSPF. I don't know this one first where it is. I don't know this one. I don't know this one, but I learned them via the other routers that are using OSPF protocol too. Alright. Hey man, my second step is also, where's my pen? Accomplished. Okay, let's take a look to the last step. The last step is saying us to run show IP OSPF database and show IP OSPF neighbors commands. I'm in router 1 and let's run show IP OSPF database command. Show IP OSPF database command is showing us the topology table and viewing us the general map of our network. I know how to go to the destinations via the database, but the best paths are being installed to the IP routing path, IP routing table. Okay, let's take a look to the show IP OSPF neighbor zone router 1. What I expect to see is router 2 and 3, which are directly connected to the router 1. And yes, as you can see that, I'm seeing the router IDs that I configured for router 2 and 3. And I'm seeing the interface and IP address information as well. Alright guys, that was a really cool session and we finished it. Thanks for viewing our OSPF lab.